Watts family chilling murder. Police were sure the moment they saw the body camera footage of Chris constantly pacing back and forth while watching his neighbor's CCTV camera footage of his garage that something was wrong. Even his neighbor noticed his body language and told the police officer that Chris was not acting right. This was enough to confirm that he was definitely involved in the disappearance of his pregnant wife and children. A few days later, things were revealed in the most appalling way. In the quiet town of Frederick, Colorado, Shanann Watts, a 34-year-old pregnant woman, and her 2 young daughters, Bella and Celeste, seemingly disappeared without a trace. As the frantic search began, hope turned to despair when their bodies were found at an Anadarko petroleum oil field, where Chris Watts, Shannon's husband, worked. The same man who was tensed the entire time when he thought the surveillance camera might have caught something. The most shocking thing was yet to come. The murderer was none other than Chris himself, just as expected. The Watts family murder case has quickly become a sensation, flooding the internet and media outlets with its chilling details. Let's get to know more about this case. Christopher Lee Watts and Shanann Watts seemed a happy couple and gave an imagination of a perfect family. In 2009, Chris and Shanann met online in North Carolina for the first time. They had a mutual friend that connected them on Facebook. Chris had sent her a friend request, which she had accepted. At that time, Shanann was not only recently divorced, but she was also battling with an autoimmune disease, lupus. Even though she was reluctant to be in a relationship this soon, she liked the thought of starting a new life with Chris. The couple married in 2012 and welcomed their first daughter, Bella, in December 2013. That same year, they purchased a 5-bedroom house in Frederick, Colorado. After that, Celeste, affectionately known as Cece, was born in July 2015. By 2018, they were expecting their 3rd child, who they considered naming Nico. Shanann was highly active on social media, portraying an image of a loving family and a thriving marriage. She frequently posted about her husband, her children, and their life together, often highlighting her gratitude and love for Chris. In addition to being a loving wife and mother, she worked as a sales representative for a multi-level marketing company promoting health and wellness products. Despite the happy front, close friends knew the Watts family faced several challenges, including financial difficulties and marital strain. 2015, Chris and Shanann filed for bankruptcy, struggling to manage their mounting debts. Although they appeared to recover, financial stress lingered, adding pressure to their relationship. It was later revealed that Shanann confided in her friends and shared her concerns regarding her marriage and Chris's increasingly distant behavior. But no one could have predicted the tragedy that was about to unfold. On August 13, 2018, Shanann and her daughters, Bella and Celeste, were reported missing. It was around 1:48 a.m. when Shanann, who was 15 weeks pregnant, was dropped off at her home by her friend and colleague, Nicole Atkinson. She had been away on a business trip in Arizona for the weekend while her husband, Chris, was with their daughters. Later on the same day, Nicole became worried when Shanann missed her doctor's appointment and didn't reply to any of her messages. She went to Watts' home and, finding no one there, contacted Chris and the police. Chris returned home and allowed the officers to conduct a preliminary search, during which they found no signs of a break-in or kidnapping. Chris gave a TV interview the following day, pleading for his family's safe return. His calm demeanor and detached manner raised suspicions. He said, "Shanann, Bella, Celeste, if you're out there, just come back. If somebody has her, just bring her back. "I need to see everybody. I need to see everybody again. This house is not complete without anybody here." As the investigation progressed, inconsistencies in Chris's story and the discovery of incriminating evidence pointed to his involvement. On August 15th, during a polygraph test, Chris confessed to killing Shanann, but claimed it was all due to his anger after seeing her smother their daughters. This story quickly fell apart, and Chris eventually admitted to murdering all three. According to his confession, in the early hours of August 13th, after an argument about their marriage, Chris strangled Shanann in their bedroom. He then wrapped her body in a sheet and placed it in his truck. After that, he loaded Bella and Celeste, who were still alive, into the vehicle. Chris drove them to a remote oil field where he worked. There, he smothered Celeste with a blanket and dropped her body into an oil tank. Bella, who had witnessed her sister's murder, asked her father if the same thing would happen to her. Chris then smothered Bella and disposed of her body in another oil tank. Shanann was buried in a grave nearby. The investigation into the disappearance of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste Watts was difficult but swift. The Frederick Police Department, Colorado Bureau of Investigation, and the FBI launched a massive search operation. The community was certainly very shocked, and a lot of volunteers joined law enforcement personnel in the search for the missing family. Key evidence in the case included surveillance footage from a neighbor's security camera, which showed Chris Watts backing his truck into the driveway and loading it with what appeared to be heavy objects. Not only that, a cadaver dog detected the scent of human remains in the truck, which proved Chris was lying about not knowing Shanann and his daughter's whereabouts. During the investigation, it was disclosed that Chris had been having an affair with a coworker, Nicole 𝐃𝐨𝐧'𝐭. When 𝐃𝐶 told the entire story, she cooperated with the authorities, providing crucial information about their relationship and Chris's behavior leading up to the murders. She claimed that Chris had told her he was in the process of separating from Shanann and that their relationship was amicable. 𝐃𝐶's interviews with the police were very important because they provided critical insights into Chris's state of mind and his possible motives. The police also uncovered a series of text messages between Chris and Shanann that painted a picture of a troubled marriage. Shanann had been away on a business trip just before the murders, and in her messages, she expressed concerns about Chris's distant behavior and the future of their relationship. These messages, combined with Chris's affair and his financial troubles, created a motive that the investigators could not ignore. The reason behind Chris Watts' horrific actions are complex and multifaceted. Financial issues, marital problems, and the pressures of maintaining a facade of perfection all contributed to the tragic outcome. However, Chris's affair with Nicole 𝐃𝐶 is the most significant factor. The affair gave Chris an escape from his perceived problems and a new sense of excitement and freedom. Chris told investigators that he felt trapped in his marriage and was overwhelmed by the responsibilities of fatherhood. He claimed that Shanann was controlling and demanding, which added to his sense of suffocation. The impending arrival of a third child likely intensified his feelings of being overwhelmed and trapped. In his mind, the only way to start a new life with 𝐃𝐶 was to eliminate his current one. This twisted logic led him to believe that murdering his family was the only way out. However, it is crucial to note that these reasons do not justify or excuse his actions. The brutality of his crimes and the betrayal of his family's trust makes Chris Watts a profoundly disturbed individual. Psychological experts have weighed in on the case, suggesting that Chris exhibited traits of narcissistic personality disorder. His need for admiration, lack of empathy, and willingness to manipulate others for his gain are consistent with this diagnosis. These characteristics, combined with the pressures he felt from his failing marriage and financial instability, created a perfect storm that led to his heinous actions. On August 15, 2018, Chris Watts was arrested for the murders of his wife and daughters. The following day, their bodies were discovered on the property of Anadarko Petroleum Corporation, where Chris worked. The grim discovery confirmed the worst fears of the investigators and the community. Chris Watts was arrested for 9 counts, including first-degree murder, illegal termination of a pregnancy, and dismembering a dead human body. In a stunning reversal, he pleaded guilty to all charges on November 6, 2018. This plea deal was made with the agreement of Shanann's family, who wanted to avoid a prolonged trial and the possibility of an appeal. On November 19, 2018, Chris Watts was convicted of 5 life sentences with no chance of parole. Not only that, 84 years of additional sentence was also charged. Weld County District Attorney Michael J. Rourke emphasized the importance of ensuring that each victim's life was reflected in the sentence. During the sentencing hearing, Shannon's family delivered emotional statements expressing their pain and sorrow. Shannon's father, Frank Ruchek Sr., directly addressed Chris saying, "I trusted you to take care of them, not kill them. And they also trusted you. You disgust me." The courtroom was filled with tears and heartbreak as the reality of the loss sank in. Since his incarceration, Chris Watts has been held at Dodge Correctional Institution in Waupun, Wisconsin. Initially, he was kept in solitary confinement for his safety, but he has since been moved to the general population. His life in prison starkly contrasts the one he once portrayed on social media. Watts spends his days working as a custodian, cleaning the prison facilities. He is allowed to work out once or twice a day and has access to certain amenities like a library and recreational activities. Despite the horrific nature of his crimes, Chris continues to receive letters from women who believe he is misunderstood. These correspondences provide him with a twisted sense of validation, although he is largely isolated and despised by fellow inmates. Watts has also had to face the psychological torment of his actions.
Felt like maybe the kids weren't going to be there when I got home that day.
Oh, interesting. Now, I don't mean to offend, but I have to ask, is that really the truth? Okay.
I really felt like they weren't going to be there when I got home that day.
Oh. And
like she would take them somewhere?
No, I just felt like either maybe I wouldn't go home, maybe.
In interviews from prison, he has expressed remorse for his crimes, stating that he regrets what he did every day. However, his words have been met with skepticism, as many believe his remorse is insincere and driven by a desire for sympathy rather than genuine regret. While incarcerated at Dodge, Watts has received 2 conduct reports. The first was in 2020, when unauthorized forms of communication and unauthorized transfer of property resulted in the loss of phone privileges for 15 days and canteen privileges for 30 days. The second conduct report, received in 2021, was for disobeying orders and possessing miscellaneous contraband, which resulted in losing access to electronics for 10 days. In 2019, it was reported that Watts kept photos of Shanann, Bella, and Celeste in his cell, which sparked outrage and led to an online petition demanding their removal. However, the Department of Corrections stated that there was no legal basis for removing the photographs, as inmates can possess certain personal items, including photographs. Watts identifies as a man of God and keeps a Bible in his cell. He has reportedly been corresponding with multiple women during his incarceration, some of whom send him pictures of them and letters expressing their belief in his innocence. These correspondences have been his primary outlet as he remains in protective custody due to the nature of his crimes and his notoriety among inmates. The Watts family murders have had a lasting impact on the public and have been the subject of extensive media coverage. The case has been featured in numerous true crime documentaries, television specials, and books. The Netflix documentary, American Murder: The Family Next Door, brought renewed interest and shed light on the dark side of social media, marriage, and violence against women. The documentary used Shannon's social media posts, recordings from law enforcement, text messages, and home videos. The case has also sparked discussions regarding domestic violence and the importance of recognizing and addressing these signs before they escalate. Nonprofit organizations dedicated to supporting victims of domestic violence have used the Watts case to raise awareness and advocate for better protection and resources for those at risk. Public reaction to the case has been shock, anger, and deep sadness. Vigils were held in memory of Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and Nico, and their story has continued to resonate with people around the world. The 𝐟𝐸𝐫𝐵𝐾 family, Shannon's parents and brother, have been vocal in their grief and their determination to cherish the memories of their loved ones. They have also been involved in raising awareness about domestic violence and supporting other families affected by similar tragedies. This video is a reminder that unfortunate things can happen even in families that seem okay. Shanann, Bella, Celeste, and their baby Nico are deeply missed. People who care about them want to make sure no one forgets what happened, and they want to help people in danger from violence at home.